may be selected to ask in the second half of the debate. To start off, each ticket will be given 3 minutes to give opening remarks and their platforms. We will then move into interview style or non-debatable questions. So each ticket will have 3 minutes to respond, but there will be no 1 minute rebuttal. After that, we'll pose the debatable questions. Ticket A will have 3 minutes, and then ticket B will have 3 minutes, and ticket A will be able to respond. Any questions? All right. Andy and Zach, if you'd like to say your opening.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Andy Green. I'm running for Student Body President. A lot of you guys know me because I'm the Director of Governmental Affairs for SGA. Last year, I was our Legislative Affairs Coordinator. A couple of things that I've done is our annual Day at the Capitol. In fact, it's tomorrow. I would say, if you guys want to get involved, SGA is a great way for students, and that's one of the things that I focused on, is getting students involved in the legislative process. My big things are just keeping SGA simple and improving communication and improving campus life and existing services. A few of the things we want to do is focus on improving campus life and safety, focus on making students more aware of where the dollars go in SGA right now. Just go to our website and you'll see there's a communication problem. If you want to know what somebody spent last week, you wouldn't be able to find that information. It's just not there. So that's what we want to do, is just improve communication with the students and be here to serve you first.
Hey everyone, my name is Zach Lee. I'm running for Student Body Vice President. I'm the current Facilities and Projects Coordinator at UCF. I've also done a lot of large-scale projects in the past 2 years on both Rosen campus and main campus. I'm so excited to run for Vice President. One of our tagline is Leave Your Legacy. So one thing we really want to empower every student here to do is leave their own legacy on campus in whatever way possible.
Hello everyone, I'm Melissa Westbrook. Thank you for being here. I'm running as your next Student Body President candidate, and I've been on this campus for 4 years. In fall 2009, the orientation team gave us a task to be the ultimate night. And my first day of class, I accepted that challenge. I've been involved in many aspects of campus, such as multiculturalism, because I serve as the student director of the Multicultural Student Center. I've also been the vice president of Respect, Check, Protect Yourself, which is an HIV/AIDS awareness organization, and spreading that knowledge around campus. Currently, I'm the community affairs specialist within student government, and I'm the president of Greek Council. Our platform deals with maximizing the student dollar here on campus. And one of our biggest platform goals is the tuition contract. So as a freshman or a transfer, you sign a contract with the university stating that the tuition and fees you agreed upon coming here would remain the same for all 4 years. Another one of our big platform goals is student art ourselves, having free graphics for them available and different sort of things like that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacob Kahn, and I'm running for your next Student Body Vice President. A little bit about myself. I'm a 4th year here at the university. I'm double majoring in International Global Studies and Biology with a minor in French language. After UCF, I hope to go to medical school, and then after that, work for Doctors Without Borders or World Health Organization. So why I'm running? Melissa is someone who I think that every student can get behind. She is very direct and intentional in her leadership, and I think that that is imperative for our next Student Body President to have. Beyond that, what I bring to the table, I've served in a variety of roles on campus in terms of our fiscal area, our money. I've been proud to serve our university on the Activity and Service Budget Committee, ASM Budget Committee for short, which deals with our student dollars. So as students, you pay $10.79 per credit hour, and that money is on every credit hour, like I said. And for a student, let's say you're paying, or you have 12 credit hours you're taking, you're paying about $170 a semester. So that's what that money goes towards. It's about $18.9 billion this current fiscal year. And it goes to pay for things like homecoming, Greek Week, different events on campus, services like student legal services, things of that nature. I've been proud to serve the university, making sure that, like Melissa said, we maximize every student dollar, we expand our services, and expand opportunity for our entire student body.
Thank you. We're now going to move into the non-debatable questions, with Andy and Zach answering first. How did you come up with your campaign slogan, and what does it mean to you?
Well, Leave Your Legacy to me means that every student should be able to shape their campus and should be able to shape their student government association. That's the underlying theme of everything on our platform. One of the best ways that we want to do that is let students host their own small businesses on campus. For anyone that lives on campus or is on campus often, you'll actually see that there's a lot of vacant retail space. Businesses come in and go, they fail. The reason it is they put things in that students don't want. So what we want to do is focus on letting students choose what their campus looks like and letting them leave the legacy their own life.
Yeah, as Andy was saying, the way we came up with our tagline was we were feeling that, we want to come back here in 10 years and be able to show people, I had an influence on this happening in campus. We really felt like SGA was only empowering those in SGA to accomplish this. And we just really wanted to give every student here on campus possible the chance to be able to do what everybody else does, to leave your own legacy on campus, that you can come back here in future years and say, look, I had a part in establishing this.
Thank you. Melissa and Jacob, how did you come up with your campaign slogan?
Our slogan is expanding opportunity. UCF stands for opportunity. A big aspect and tenet of the creed for me is creativity and finding alternative ways to turn our programs into better services for the student body. And since UCF stands for opportunity, why not expand that?
For myself, what our campaign slogan means for me is that this current year, as I sit on the Activity Service Budget Committee, like I previously stated, this next fiscal year we're going to see is actually the first time we'll have a budget decrease. We're looking at about a $100,000 cut in our budget. And something that I'm proud to say is that I was able to save students money in different areas. For example, I saved students $30,000 in student legal services, and was able to take that $30,000 and put it in other programs and help expand other programs for our students without hurting anything under student legal services, and in fact actually expanding their opportunity to reach out to students, even with saving that much money. So I want to continue doing that for a student body in that role. So that's what that slogan means to me.
Thank you. Andy and Zach, in your time at UCF, what has qualified you to be the next president and vice president of SGA?
I think that's a great question. One of the best things about being an SGA in my position as our Director of Governmental Affairs is that it's my job on a daily basis to represent students and represent student interests. And I think that that's one thing that students lack now is a strong advocate and somebody to say students come first and the administration comes second. And I think that that daily role of standing up for students and advocating for students in our state capital is what makes me qualified.
Andy and I are a diverse team. We work with several, not only students but faculty members all throughout campus. This past year I was working with the RWC and putting in the new gym at North End. During that process, I just met so many student groups, and it was great to just connect with as many people on campus to find out what everybody thinks should be changed on campus. My focus has not only been on main campus, but when I was not in SGA last year, I worked on a very large-scale project at Rosen. It was actually a Green Initiative scholarship contest. And for the entire year, I researched how electricity was affecting the campus and ways that we could reduce electricity costs at Rosen. So I came up with with an idea about putting light switches to remind students to shut off the lights at Rosen. And it was just a simple idea. I went and tested it for a few months and then got in contact with businesses. And now if you go to Rosen, you'll see my name on every single light switch, reminding students to turn off the lights, which has saved Rosen on electricity bills. So I mean, my focus is not only on main campus, but also on all the regional campuses that UCF has.
Melissa and Jacob, in your time at UCF, what has qualified you to be the next president and vice president of SGA?
Well, I've been involved for 4 years now. Coming into my freshman year, I jumped into the Multicultural Student Center, like I said before, and respect, check, protect yourself. But above all these positions, I think what qualifies me is my passion and my love for the student body here at UCF. I've been interviewed before by some of our councils in SGA, and they said, if any advice, what would you give to me? If you're going to do something, you need to love it. Because when you love it, it doesn't become hard for you. And I think my passion here exudes through everything that I do on this campus and a lot of the programs that I put on and a lot of the collaborative efforts that I made throughout this campus. So my passion, I would have to say.
Thank you. We're now going to be moving into the debatable. Oh, sorry. So sorry. I just tied it up with a nice little bow.
For myself, I've had the opportunity for the past about 2.5 years to represent students through Student Government Senate. I've written dozens of bills and represented many, many organizations across an entire spectrum, from College Democrats to Asian Student Association to Equal, and many, many more. And I've been been very proud to say that I've had the opportunity to work with so many different student leaders who come from so many different backgrounds, and it's been truly a humbling experience and amazing for my own self-growth as a student and as a leader. But beyond that, I'm actually a resident assistant on campus, and currently I oversee 48 fresh-faced freshmen on our campus. And in light of what's happened on our campus this past week, I've really come to grow a stronger bond with my residents. As freshmen, this is their first time on campus. This is only their second or maybe third semester if they were here for summer. And being able to connect with them and making sure that they're safe, making sure that they understand what's going on and they feel that they have someone they can always come to for support has been a very big thing for me and very empowering for myself to know that I'm a support base for 48 freshmen, and to know that they can always come to me, whether it's 2 p.m. or 2 a.m., whenever it is, and they have someone to talk to, no matter what the issue is.
Thank you. And now we will be moving into debatable questions. I'll be addressing Andy and Zach first. In looking at the current administration, what is the one thing that you would improve and why?
That's the easiest answer probably of the entire debate. It's definitely that SGA has a communication problem. One of the things that we've seen consistently as students over this past year is that SGA either does stuff without going to the students first, such as raising tuition or voting to raise fees, or they offer services without asking anyone if they really wanted them in the first place. And I will say that that's definitely something that SGA has learned through trial by fire. And I will give credit to the SGA Division of Communications this year by learning from their own mistakes. Earlier, just a few months ago, during one of the Board of Trustees meetings, they actually had students give their input live on Twitter during the fee votes. And if only that would have been done earlier in the year, we might have had more success and not feel such a disconnect between SGA and the student body.
Oh, I agree. I feel like so many students on this campus really don't feel like they could step into the office and do anything around campus. A lot of students don't have a grasp on who the student body vice president is or who the student body president is, which poses a big problem. We don't know, if students do not know who their leaders are, they're not going to know who to go to when they see a problem on campus. They're going to feel lost.
Thank you. All right. In looking at the current administration, what is the one thing that you would improve, and why?
As far as the current administration, I really appreciate them. I've been looking up to a lot of them, and I see their work on a daily basis, and I really appreciate it. One thing that I would improve, and it's actually a platform goal of ours, is to host SGA days at regional campuses. I think a lot of students appreciated SGA days this year, and they saw a lot of the services that we did have. And if we could have that at regional campuses as well, and spread that across our other campuses, that would be really appreciated as well. So.
As for myself, I definitely see outreach services have been a bit of an issue with student government. We have a variety of different areas of student legal services, dispute resolution services, things of that nature that students underutilize and don't realize that are there for them. So I think that what SGA can do in the future, and I think that's something they're working on now, and which I hope, if elected, to continue working on promoting, will be the promotion of these services, which are so integral and imperative for our students, so they know their rights, they know what they can and cannot do when it comes to the law. It's just an amazing service, and I think that among other services, needs to be promoted better.
Andy and Zach, you have a 1-minute rebuttal.
I'd just like to say that instead of asking our cabinet or members of our administration, if we were elected, to help communicate our vision for us, we would actually go out and get from behind our desk ourselves and host monthly town hall meetings. We think that students should have direct access to their elected leaders, and that's something we want to change.
Thank you. All right, Melissa and Jacob. Both of your platforms address campus internet and technology resources. What are your plans for expanding these services as well as educating students on the services currently available, like Technology Commons?
Well, one of our platform goals is, well, one of a few. One is expanding Wi-Fi in student housing. I know as a freshman and as a sophomore, you have to hook up to the Ethernet cord, and you couldn't comfortably sit on your bed or go over here. You didn't want to study in that desk area. So if we expanded campus Wi-Fi in the student dorms, that would be really nice. Also, we want to have campus more technology friendly. If you all have ever been underneath the Coup TVs located by Mrs. Fields, there are phone chargers there. Well, if we had those same chargers or computer chargers within our tables located in the student union, that would make it more technology friendly. Having your cell phone on you at all times, that's a big safety issue. So if we had to be able to charge our phones and always make it across campus with a charged cell phone, that would be great. Also, we have a platform goal addressing limited software within our computers on campus. I know a lot of engineering students, art students, and journalism majors use AutoCAD, MathCAD, Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and other services. So if we expanded those services within a student union on like Study 1, 2, and Technology Commons, that would be wonderful.
Just to echo the sentiments of my running mate, I definitely have to speak about the Wi-Fi in the residence halls on campus. As a resident assistant, I live with my residents on the same floors, and so I know personally how much the Wi-Fi and even the Ethernet sometimes isn't up to par of what we want it to be, so definitely working on that. In my community, there are 800 students who live in Hercules, and so I've heard a lot of feedback from that area asking these freshman students as well as other students, because we do have apartment style as well where it's sophomores, freshmen, sophomore, freshman, junior, and seniors, even some grad students as well live in Hercules. So asking them their opinions on that is definitely an area of concern that we're definitely looking at.
Well, the one thing, really the most important thing that we would focus on is making campus-wide Wi-Fi a reality, not just at the main campus, but our regional campus as well. And I think a problem that's been in the past is that a lot of candidates and a lot of tickets have put things on their platform just because it sounds good and they don't really want to do it. And one of those in the past has been expanding campus-wide Wi-Fi. But I'm proud to say that Zach and I, and actually Jacob, sat on the tech fee committee this year, and we understand that that is a pool of over $9 million available where students form a functional majority on the committee. And why it hasn't been done in the past is something that baffles me. So I'm proud to say that, you know, I think campus-wide Wi-Fi this coming year is going to be a reality, and it may cost enough money where we have to prorate it out over several years, but I think that that's something that we're proud to say is that it's going to get done. In fact, I've actually been speaking with the head of information technologies to write a proposal to be voted on this year by the tech fee committee.
Couldn't have said better.
Do you have a rebuttal?
Thank you.
All right, Andy and Zach. With UCF's growing transfer student population, how do you plan on utilizing your roles to address the needs of transfer students?
Well, unlike anyone else on the stage, I was actually a transfer student. I came from Valencia. I come from a family of teachers, and I was raised to believe that education should be affordable and accessible. So one of the things that I did to save money was the first half of my college career I went to a state college. That being said, I think the problem when transfer students come in is that they're expected to hit the ground running. And going to a state college and coming to a research university on the scale of UCF are two completely different things. So one of the things that we would like to do is two things fold. One is try to work with the orientation program to better meet the needs of transfer students, help them come up to par as quickly as possible instead of just throwing them into a lake and expecting them to figure out how to swim for themselves. Another thing that we'd like to do is increase transfer student involvement in SGA. One of the problems we have now with SGA is people get in as, I would almost want to say career politicians in SGA. They come in their freshman year and they leave and they're there until their senior year and they actually just become SGA relics. So one of the things that we'd like to do is focus on getting those transfer students involved, find a way, maybe create a transfer student advisory board and get those people involved.
And again, this all happens by speaking with the students. I'm not a transfer student. If I was just asked without doing any research to promote transfer students, I would have no idea what I was doing just because I've never faced that challenge before. So that's one way that we formed everything with our platform is with talking with students that are in those situations.
Melissa and Jacob.
On our platform, we have to improve graduate and transfer orientations. I've spoken with a lot of O-teamers and I've spoken with a lot of graduate students and transfer students, and their main concern is when they get here, and I've actually been to a lot of graduate and transfer orientations, and when they come here, they go into a room and they're told to just walk around the room to see which organizations they like to be a part of, if any. But if you notice with freshman orientations, they actually have a get involved session. And I think that session is very key in the success of transfer students coming into student affairs. So improving that and having a get involved session would be really great. Also, we have another platform point about a connect program between community colleges and UCF so that we can go meet them at their colleges and let them know about Greek life, let them know about different RSOs on campus, so that when they do get here, they don't hit the ground running. They know what's here before they get here. And I've actually spoken with the Valencia past president. I know they're going through their elections now. He actually spoke with me personally about doing a Connect program, a direct connect to UCF.
I actually work on campus as an undergraduate admissions ambassador, which is just a fancy name for a tour guide. It's a great job, I really love it. Anyone interested, talk to me afterwards. But in this show, I've actually gotten to know a lot about how those transfer orientations work. We work indirectly with OT and things of that nature. And one of the areas where I really want to focus on is transfer and transiting services, which is an office in Howard Phillips Hall. It's actually housed with First Year Advising Exploration, and we call that our Student Success Center on campus. And so what we want to do is I would want to help promote that service and let students know that are transferring here that is a great resource for students to go to. These are people who are in professional positions who work with transfer students in order to make sure that they're getting acclimated to the campus and help them out. So promoting what they do and encouraging more dialogue, more interaction between them and transfer students is something that I would definitely focus on.
Rebuttal?
As a transfer student myself and someone that's actually gone through the orientations, I can speak to how daunting it can be to come to UCF as a new student and not have the same services that a freshman would have or a traditional first-year student to help them get involved. So that goes back to one of the things that we want to focus on is just improving communication between SGA and the student body, and it goes for transfer students as well.
Thank you. Melissa and Jacob, what would you do to create, sorry. That's why the glasses are on, guys, sorry. What would your criteria be for the creation of new agencies, and how would you plan to allocate resources in order to fund new agencies?
Well, agencies have to be funded by the activity and service budget. With the implementation, of new agencies, you have to look at an agency as they fit the entire student body. That's big. If you look at CAP, it's memories, fun memories, different entertainment resources for you. If you look at the Multicultural Student Center, it's based on your creed, your ethnicity, your nationality, gender orientation, and students with disabilities. And I think when you look at building new agencies, you have to see what we already have in place and where those services could go to. I know my partner can definitely speak on the activity and service fee budget based on the new implementation agencies within the budget itself.
Thank you. I actually have a lot of experience working directly with these new agencies. This past year, we actually passed through Senate, which I was a part of, 2 new agencies, Pride Coalition, as well as Nighthon has become an agency. So I have a lot of experience in per statutes where it talks about is that an agency should be something that's going to provide a service for a student body. It should be something along those measures. So it's kind of a vague and general way of putting it, but I kind of like that situation for the reason that if you try and put an agency into a box, well then things that maybe should become agencies in the future may not come into that fruition later on. So it's a very open process. The process is done through several different committees, and there's a few steps that happens through. It's a very thorough process to make sure that whatever we're going to put through as an agency is something that's going to benefit all students at our university.
I think that a problem that we have now for creating new agencies is that the current agencies kind of kick down the ladder for incoming agencies, and it really comes down to money. There's only a set pool of funds, and it has to be divided up the way it is. One of the ways that we want to help students leave their legacy is recognize RSOs that have been here since my grandmother came to UCF. The best examples that I could give would be, say, the Black Student Union that's been in existence since the first year that UCF was UCF, but they're treated just the same as Chess Club, which I'm actually a part of, that's been around for 4 years. I don't think that's right. So one of the things that we would do would be focusing on letting those RSOs that have been here for decades, that literally have 100+ members, reach that agency status to recognize their achievement and to let them become a lasting part of SGA, a lasting part of this campus, and help them lead their lives.
Rebecca?
Yes, especially speaking about the Black Student Union, I spoke to them. I'm really aware of their executive board and their members since I am a member of the Black Student Union. But they have been housed in the MSC since 11 years ago. And I think they have progressed within the Multicultural Student Center. And making them an agency would really take the RSOs that they got to bond with, and they've got to create cross-cultural collaborations with. I think keeping them within the Multicultural Student Center would be a benefit to that. On our platform, we do have expansion of the Multicultural Student Center. That means more RSO space. That means more resources for these RSOs to actually achieve. So expanding MSC would actually then expand their service without them becoming an agency. They are a cultural organization, and there are many of them around them who've been around just as long, and I think keeping them as an RSO will show their progression even more.
Just speaking on that from a senator perspective, one of our organizations, Chabad, for example, in the past 4 years, has received $55,000 from us, and they've been able to, as an RSO, do things and expand on this campus in such a way with collaboration.
Andy and Zach, recent administrations have consistently created and involved student transportation programs like this year's Night Flight program. How do you plan to continue expanding student transportation options?
Well, it's not so much as expanding. We want to offer new services, but we want to make sure that it's reasonable in cost, and we want to cut from existing transportation programs that nobody uses, such as the shuttle that runs campus-wide. I've never ridden in my life, and I've been here for 2 years. One of the things that we want to offer is something that we've gotten a lot of requests from some students is night links to Cocoa and also night links to local shopping centers to help students reach local grocery stores. One of the problems with our existing transportation services is they only offer expanded hours on Fridays and Saturdays. So let's say you work or you have classes past a certain hour on a weekday, you're going to have to wait to go do something as simple as buy your groceries.
Melissa and Jacob.
Yes, especially speaking about transportation, that shuttle that goes from Burnett Honors College to Hercules, from Burnett and also to the arena is called the Black and the Gold Shuttle. And I've actually specifically rode that shuttle before. And specifically within our platform, we have stated and talked to many different RSOs about is taking that service, since a lot of students don't use it, and making it go to the grocery store during various times during the week.
Melissa and I are 2 students who actually don't have cars. So we actually speak from an area that we know what we really need to focus on. And in fact, actually, one of the things that we want to do beyond that is, there's a program on campus, if you don't know, it's called Zipcar. I actually have a Zipcar, actually, so it's kind of cool. What you do is you just sign up online and you can rent a car by the hour, and the price includes both the gas and the insurance. It's a great program. I personally use it. It really helps me get to the store, pick up my dry cleaning, whatever I need to get. So it's very affordable for students to use. We want to help expand it. Currently, there are 5 zip cards on campus, but as someone who uses it, it's so popular and it's grown so much that you have to book the car like 2 days in advance sometimes, especially for weekends. So working with them, collaborating more with them, and bringing more cars on campus is something that we really want to focus on, really want to do.
Another thing we would like to focus on is shuttles on the weekend. I know a lot of students like to come on the weekends and study, and they're prevented from that if they don't have a vehicle. So we would like to have shuttle on the weekend go from various hours. And also another thing with transportation would be especially shuttle hours increasing at regional campuses. I have friends that go to Rosen, and their class gets out at 8:50, but the shuttle stops around 7. So how are they going to get back to campus by a stranger or someone that they barely just met? So increasing those hours at Rosen and regional campuses would be wonderful.
Ronald?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that it necessarily comes down to just getting to the store or getting to where you want to go. There's an underlooked aspect to transportation services at UCF, and that's campus safety. Alafaya has a nickname of, the DUI highway for a reason. Just this past year, I believe there was over 35 DUIs, student DUIs, UCF students, and that's something that we want to change. One of the things we want to do is expand night links, and a separate thing that we want to do is, if anyone has ever used the service, I'd be surprised. We actually offer a prepaid taxi service to students where people can go to the ticket center, they can go to the business office, and they can get a voucher good for a cab ride home. Nobody ever uses it because it requires so much forethought, it requires so much hassle, and they actually limit the amount of uses per semester. So one of the things that we want to do is make it after the fact. When students are in a position where they are unable to get home safely for whatever reason, and we want to make sure that their safety is a priority and help them get back.
Thank you. Melissa and Jacob, both of your platforms offer different responses to the continuing tuition and fee increases. Can you please elaborate on your ideas?
Well, our idea is a tuition contract. As a freshman or a transfer student, you would basically have the university sign a contract with you, and it would state that all your 4 years here, your tuition and fees would remain the same. And there are other university figures who have actually been talking about the same contract, so we will definitely see it to fruition.
I think that the best way to make a zero tuition increase a reality is to work within the existing framework. A lot of people don't realize, and I know there's a lot of people upset that tuition was raised this year. A lot of people felt betrayed. But if you read the stories during the actual vote earlier in the year, the first vote in the Board of Governors was actually to not raise tuition statewide by 15% until the student member of the board, our current student body president, led to the revote that caused the tuition increase. So one of the things that we'd like to do is just work within the existing framework. We think that the university, and we think that especially members of the Board of Governors, don't want to see a tuition increase. They have families of their own, they have kids of their own in college, and I think that if we work within that existing framework, advocate for a 0% tuition increase, it can become a reality.
Ramon?
Just speaking on that tuition increase, back to what Andy had said previously in the previous question about communication. Yes, communication sometimes is an issue in government. There's always issues in every organization. But the thing to realize too is that if that increase didn't happen, certain programs and even possibly majors could have been cut. So I think that it's really important to look at that and I think that our tuition contract is more proactive, and it's more about making sure that both the administration has some flexibility on being able to raise tuition if they need to, as a last resort. But as a student, you're locked into that price, and you're guaranteed, if using a tuition contract, that there won't be any kind of tuition increase while you're here. So you can plan out your entire 4 years, 5 years you're going to be here at the university, and know, hey, I'm going to spend this much money, and that's what I need.
Thank you. Andy and Zach, which SGA service do you think is underutilized, and how do you go about improving it?
I don't think that it's necessarily any one particular service. I think that it's all services, because all services are under-promoted and students don't know about them. And that comes back to, once again, improving communication between SGA. We don't think that we need to, improve any particular existing service, or that we need to expand anything and spend students' dollars recklessly. All that we want to do is make students more aware, that way what they are paying for, they get a chance to use.
I agree. Several students or student groups that we talked to think that wherever they see the SGA logo, we just kind of threw it on there for fun. They have no idea that SGA actually has a hand in providing a service for them at a certain place. So I think really just the communication aspect, if we can reach out to students more and let them know what SGA actually does for them, all the services can improve.
Melissa and Jacob?
I know one service that is underutilized would be within the communications department. A lot of RSOs don't know you can get 40 free posters for their event. I actually spoke with a lot of RSOs and MSC, and they didn't know that. So they asked me, hey, how can I get more free graphics? Or hey, how can I get more of my posters printed quickly? Is there a printer that prints color? And I was like, well, you can go to the communications department if you would have did it ahead of time and get your posters and your A-frame printed for you for free. So I feel like that is an underutilized service by a lot of registered student organizations, but that just plays on the communication aspect if we get it out there for them more. But a lot of our services, I do think, are used by students. And I see a lot of students come in, especially through the bill process. I mean, a lot of students know that SGA is here for them.
Working as a resident assistant on campus, one of the things that I've always come across is people having problems with roommates. I bet many people in this room have lived on campus, may have had problems with a roommate, may have had a friend who had problems with a roommate. And I think one of the most underutilized services that we offer is dispute resolution services. Jennifer Wright is actually the woman who's in charge of it, and it's a great place for you to go to for free, and they will help you work out any issue you have with a roommate. She's very real with you, she's very friendly and open. You sit down with her, it's a free service that we offer, and she helps figure things out for you. It doesn't have to be roommate issues, it can be any kind of issue. And you don't have to have that person there, it can be just something in your life going wrong. It's just a great opportunity to get some help from someone who is very knowledgeable, like I said, very friendly, and willing to help you, willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that your experience here at the university is a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can all agree that there is a lack of clear communications between SGA and the student body. Just to give you an example, currently in SGA there seems to be this culture that students need to come to us. We promote our events on Facebook, we promote our events on our Twitter, we put them on our website. But if you weren't already connected with SGA, you would know about that event, you would know about that program, or you might not even know about that service. So one of the things that we want to do when we've actually taken the steps of doing on our positions is to reach out to students. You know, take the effort ourselves to make students aware of what we're doing and how we can serve them. And they're simple and they're free measures, such as any student, and you don't even have to be part of SGA, any club, anybody can do this, is to put an event on the UCF main calendar. And if it's approved by marketing, it'll go on the weekly email and it'll show up right in the student's inbox. That way they don't have to come find SGA, SGA comes to them.
Thank you. Melissa and Jacob, what kind of changes would you institute to make voting in local, state, and national elections more accessible for UCF students?
Well, on our platform, we actually have a specific platform goal to that. Registering students to vote at orientations. If your orientation team leader took 10 minutes out of their session to take out of their packet one of the sheets where you could vote, well not vote, but register to vote, and they would go down the sheet with you and tell you exactly how to do it, put your name, your address, what political party, because it wouldn't matter, Democrat, Republican, Independent. And if you register students to vote at orientation, you see this freshman class coming in 2013. If they then became seniors, every student on this campus should then be registered to vote, and that would be amazing.
I'd have to say, right now there's a House bill on the state legislative floor that talks about loosening the voting restrictions on places to vote. So like, if you guys voted in the last election, you voted most likely at like the public library that was close by if you're registered to vote in this district. Like I am. So one of the things that's going on is trying to loosen those restrictions and able to have places like an arena to be a place where you can vote. So if that happens, it's the way that it's worded right now, and I'm not the biggest expert on this bill by any means, but the way that I've seen it means that like places like our UCF arena could be a voting location. So we're definitely in support of advocating for this and making sure this happens and goes through, and we can do that through our lobbying firm, Ray Robinson. So it's definitely something we really want to make sure that happens for our students and be very convenient instead of having to go off campus and have a car like we do. I mean, College Democrats was an organization that helped shuttle kids in their own cars to these voting locations. You know, it's a great service and definitely very valuable. I took advantage of that. So would definitely like to see this happen on campus for our students.
This is actually a topic that I'm very passionate about. I have a lot of personal experience. The idea of registering students to vote at orientations actually started that last year. I registered over 200 students to vote at orientations, and I was able to do that by, and if you guys mentioned, if you guys know, election laws are currently very backwards in the state of Florida, and they discourage people like the College Democrats and the College Republicans from taking it upon themselves to register students to vote. It's because they have these outlandish fines. Like if you lose one sheet of paper, you can be fined $1,000. So one of the things that I was able to do was partner with the Orange County Supervisor of Elections, so that they actually sent a representative to come register voters with me. That way I removed SGA from risk, but we still were able to register those voters. Eventually, a student group on campus, College Democrats, took over registering voters in a nonpartisan way. However, instead of registering voters at orientations, we learned this year that the most effective way to register students to vote is actually through the UCF. Our legislative affairs coordinator, Cynthia Florentino, actually got a nonprofit to pay for voter registration. You guys might have remember seeing it. Turbo Vote. In less than 2 weeks, we were able to register almost 2,000 students. I'm going to repeat that. Almost 2,000 students in a 2-week period on the UCF. It was very effective, it was very efficient, and it didn't cost the students a dime. Another thing that I did this past year, just a few months ago, and some of you in the crowd actually used the service, was that I organized the red line, blue lines to take students to local polling places. We were able to get shuttles to take students to local polling places. And one of the things that I saw was that students lack effective means to vote. There were students, friends of mine, who had to wait for 5 hours to vote here at the arena on campus. In fact, after the shuttles had left that day, there were still students who had taken those shuttles to the local polling places, who I personally went back and forth, making over a dozen trips, almost at 10 o'clock at night, bringing those students back to campus in my own personal car, making sure that they were looked at when they got here. I think one of the things that I'm passionate about, and I can tell the other thing that's passionate about, is making sure that students have that access to vote and that they're able to participate in the democratic process.
Yeah, I've been here for 3 years, and the only time I've really seen it pushed to register to vote is during the past election. So I think if it was pushed more, I mean, just advertise more to students to register, and give easier access, more knowledge to more students.
Yes, I've actually spoken to leaders in political organizations on this campus, and it was actually their idea to push to register students to vote at orientations by their orientation team leader. That is someone that you do feel comfortable with when you're a freshman. That's the first fresh face that you do see on this campus. And registering to vote with your orientation team leader means that you all most likely would register to vote. When you have a table in the back and you say, hey, come register to vote, a lot of the time students will bypass that. But in your small group, if your orientation team leader pulled out that sheet of paper and went down with it in a private manner, but also in a more passionate and a more small setting, you would be able to do that. And I doubt you would say, hey, no, I don't want to register to vote. You would actually go down that sheet of paper, and everyone on this campus would be.
I believe we have time before intermission for one last question. Andy and Zach, what is your ticket's first priority if elected into office?
Our first priority is to put students first. Students have lacked a clear voice and a clear advocate for this past year and in recent memory in SGA, and that's the thing that we want to change. And that involves a two-way street that we want to undertake. One, we want to come to students first and say, hey, what do you guys think is lacking in SGA? What do you guys want to change with your campus? And what can we do for you? That's actually how a lot of our platform was originated, was simply taking the steps to listen to student needs and to get their feedback. The second thing, and the second way on that street, would be to reach out to students. One of the ways that we're committed to doing that is by hosting town hall meetings to meet directly with students, and that way we can get feedback throughout the year.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Andy more. I feel like one of the problems in SGA elections is that candidates will go and they'll say, oh yeah, we'll do this for you, we'll do this for you. Once they're actually elected and have the power to do things, it just kind of goes to the back of their mind. Students are first in our mind. Students come first to us all the time.
Melissa and Jacob.
Well, my main goal within this election and to be next year would be to show students that I'm advocating for them and that I'm here for them. I plan on, if we could be elected, to attend all these RSO meetings and meet the student leaders within these organizations and show them that we are here for them. Our main goal, like we said earlier, is to maximize that student dollar so that every student can use these services within the student government.
For me, someone who's come from a largely Senate background, I would like to keep and continue to increase support for RSOs. Something we've really done this past year was create something called a bill forecast system, which helps us be proactive in getting our organizations funding for their events, conferences, office supplies, promotional materials, and several things like that. So being able to continue to increase that awareness and increase that level of support that we've created, that I helped create, is something that's really important to me, as well as something that was a personal initiative for me was creating an all-presidents meeting with our RSOs, where we'll have meetings with our presidents from all of our RSOs. They'll be able to come sit down, we'll tell them what's going on in SGA, they'll give us feedback in an open forum kind of setting. It'd be very casual, it wouldn't be all like button-up suits and very formal attire. It'd be more of just one-on-one, speaking student to student instead of student leader to student. Because at the end of the day, the first thing you say is student leader, and the first word there is student. And Melissa and I and Andy and Zach, we're all just students. That's where we came from. So I think it's very important that through these initiatives that we have on our platform, that it will allow students to realize, hey, they're just one of us. They're just, really active and they want to be involved. And they want to help you get involved too. So I think that's where we really come from.
Absolutely. Communication and outreach to RSOs is critical. I'm actually currently an officer for a couple of RSOs. But coming back to our central point, the biggest thing for us is to put students first and be that strong voice and that strong advocate. Earlier it mentioned about cutting programs and cutting services and tuition wasn't raised. I don't think that we should ask students to pay more when we're giving our administrators an almost $1 million raise in salary. I think that's something that we should focus on as students, is putting students first in the administration sector.
Thank you very much, both of you candidates. We are going to pause for a 10-minute intermission. So I'll see you guys soon. We're going to start with Melissa and Jacob. UCF currently offers a student health insurance plan. What is your vision behind your platform point, opt-in night care?
Well, with night care, we've actually looked at a lot of other universities, and they partner with Blue Cross Blue Shield to have a opt-in health insurance plan for students where they can pay it with their financial aid, actually. And I think that's a big thing for students, being able to afford things, and instead of paying out of pocket, you can pay with your financial aid if you have money left over. And this plan is actually cheaper than an individual plan outside of the student population.
Andy and Zach, organizations and agencies are constantly in need of meeting and programming space. In your platform, you plan to create a real-time student union room reservation system. How do you plan to create this system, and how will students be able to utilize it?
I think that it comes down to, once again, communication. Right now, students can reserve spaces in the student union for RSO meeting times. And as a member of an RSO, as an officer for RSO, I walk around and there's empty rooms sitting there idly, and the next group isn't scheduled for 2, sometimes 3 hours in advance. And the student union has a great rationale for it. They want to make sure there's ample time to clean those spaces or to change the setup, the chairs and the equipment before the next group comes in. The problem is that overcaution oftentimes leads groups to hosting their meetings in random places outside or on the boardwalk or in an empty classroom that they happen to find. So all that we would do is a simple measure to work with event services to ask them to modify the way that they handle the rooms, modify the time that it takes to turn over those rooms to RSOs, and just implement a real-time reservation system.
As I was saying, I can't tell you how many times I've gone past one of these rooms in the student union, and it's just been empty. You look at the spot, and there's RSO scheduled there for 2 hours, and they don't decide to have a meeting last minute. There's no one to check the room, and that poses a real problem to other student groups that want to be in that room, because it's 2 hours worth of space that's just being wasted. So if there was a way, like even if we had like some type of wait list where other RSOs could get on that, we can contact them, or just any student wants to meet in the room, that available space, it would be better used than being left empty.
Melissa and Jacob, your platform includes free breakfast every first Monday of the month under your campus life initiatives. What is your motivation behind this?
Well, I've gotten that question a few times, actually. Remember when you were in middle school and high school and they told you breakfast before a test and rest would ensure that you did well on that test? Well, my reason behind that would be Monday is the beginning of the week. And when you come to school, sometimes students don't have anything to eat. We do have a homeless population of UCF students, and a lot of students who can't afford anything, or when you wake up too late to miss the shuttle, or you wake up too late just to catch the shuttle, you can't make anything for yourself at home. So if we provide that breakfast, we provide that nourishment for you to get your education.
Andy and Zach, in your platform, you said that you would use the open spaces on campus for student-run small businesses. What spaces do you plan on using, and how do you plan to fund this goal?
This is actually one of our larger platform points that we actually started working with administration back in January. I met with people at North End, and at first we had the idea, okay, there's all these empty spaces at North End, and they keep coming in and leaving. That's because UCF will just put a business here, and they'll think, well, yeah, students are going to love this business. But then they can't make any money because students don't latch onto it, they don't take the idea, and it instantly ends up leaving. And if anybody knows about the cafe at Rosen, it was run entirely by students. If anybody knows about a Rosen class, their main thing is they want to get students immersed in whatever profession they want to go into for the rest of their lives as best they can. So with this, at the cafe at Rosen, it was managed by students, the food was handled by students, the money was handled by students. It was a huge student project. But when the last student manager graduated, no other students wanted to take it over. The school didn't want to take it on because it was a student project. And no business wanted to take it over because it wasn't large enough business. So I had this idea, well, what if we let students run their own businesses at UCF, because this was such a great idea at Rosen that many students wanted us to bring back, which we are doing as well. So the card services, where that's at North End right now, is actually moving inside the arena over the summer. So this space will be empty. And talking with people at North End, SGA would actually be able to get this space. And so what we would do is we would divide it into 4 separate student-run businesses. This kind of goes along with the incubator and the accelerator program that are also pending at UCF. And this gives students a chance to kind of propose their business idea and get it started. So we'd be providing student jobs because we would need students to market these businesses. So students to manage these businesses, students to handle the money, and students to provide the service or product. There were so many ideas that were shot around. One of them that really stuck was a jersey printing company, and not for like fraternity and sorority jerseys, but for like IM sports or small clubs, because you can't go to Big Tom and ask them to print out 6 shirts for you. So if you play an IM sport or you're in a club, you're really limited to what you can draw on a white t-shirt or what you can go buy at Walmart. So we had a jersey printing station. You could easily just go and buy shirts. So first of all, we wanted to tailor each of these businesses to different student colleges. We wanted to tailor each of these to different student colleges, so that it wasn't just business students that were prospering from this. So we give students a job on campus. We immerse them in the field, whatever they want to go into for the rest of their lives. And then also there was talks of them receiving a credit hour, because so many colleges require an internship. And so working in this job would be like an internship.
But going back to the theme of leave your legacy, the ideas would be kind of like a form to a Shark Tank or a joust like they have in the College of Businesses. Students would propose these ideas, and we take these ideas from the students so students could shape and leave a legacy that way. As you can tell, we're excited about this, and there's an obvious reason why I picked an entrepreneurship major as my running mate.
Thank you. This next question is to both vice presidential candidates, and we will start with Jacob. It is one responsibility of the vice president to break a tie in the SGA Senate. If an organization's funding bill is at stake in a tie, how will you base your decision to vote yes or no?
That's an excellent question. It actually would follow what I've done in Senate for the past 2.5 years. 2 areas to get into like the mind of a senator. 2 areas that we really look at. We look at fiscal history. We look at how well the organization's done in the past. So if the organization doesn't actually have fiscal history, so if they're brand new, or they actually have a good fiscal history, something that you really wouldn't look at. The second thing that you definitely need to look at is you need to look at the scope of how this event or conference or whatever it may be is going to affect students at this campus. So you want to really look at that intrinsic value and really see how it's going to benefit the students who are participating and benefit students who are going to be affected by it. So if it's a conference and they're going off campus and there's 20 students and they come back and they host a workshop for all students to attend, that's a great opportunity. Or if they're holding an on-campus event where it's something cultural and they're able to help students learn about a new culture they may never have been exposed to or never will ever be exposed to, that's also something that's very valuable. So things in that realm, things that come from all different areas is something you really have to look at and be very open-minded and be very fair and very understanding of different cultures and different ideologies. So that's how I would make my decision and how I would make my decision in SGA.
I think the most important thing, as Jacob was saying, to look at is how it is going to affect the whole student body and who it's going to affect. There was obviously, at the time, there was obviously some negative reasons that the Senate had with voting it down. There was obviously some positive reasons that Senate had with voting for it. So really, you have to look at I would look at all aspects of who would benefit and how it would benefit the student body as a whole.
All right, this next question is for our presidential candidates, and we'll start with Andy. The UCF student body president has the honor of serving on the UCF Board of Trustees during his or her term. How do you plan to advocate the student voice while serving on the UCF Board of Trustees?
Well, it comes down to 2 things. One, you have to know the concerns of the student body. And we've already started doing that by taking an active approach and asking the students, what do you care about? And it always comes down to several things. One, it comes down to student dollars. Their money belongs in their pocket. Then it comes down to campus safety. What we would do is just take those concerns and take them to the Board of Trustees. They're there to help hold the administration accountable. They're independent community and business leaders and political figures that are here to help advocate for the students and the administration as well. And I think that the best way to do that is just to communicate the simple step of the needs and the wishes of the student body to the Board of Trustees.
Melissa?
Well, I've had the honor of being Greek Council President, and with that, I work with a lot of faculty and administration. I think a big thing with the faculty and administration is not fighting against them, but working with them. And a big thing that I've been trying to do is work with faculty and administration, but also letting them know the differences between the rules and regulations we have and the student lifestyles and how to come to a common agreement with that. Also, another thing that Jacob and I have actually been speaking about with within the bylaws of the Board of Trustees, there's a Millionaires Club. And what that is researchers who, they actually get $1 million in funding with their research. And if we increase awareness of that and we increase more participation in that, we increase more research output within the university.
Thank you. This next portion will be the return of our debatable questions. So the first person will have 3 minutes, then we'll go to the second candidate, and then the 1 minute rebuttal. The first question will be directed to Melissa and Jacob. Both tickets have good ideas. How willing would you be to incorporate some of your opponent's ideas into your own platform, should you win?
I'd be more than willing. I think if it's a good idea and the students really want it, you have to see past yourself. A big thing with me as a leader, I'm very direct and intentional, and I believe that when you lead for students, it's bigger than yourself. A lot of students need to realize, and a lot of leaders need to realize that when you join an organization or you're doing work for an organization, it is bigger than yourself. We are in a world. Community is one of the tenets of the creed, and that's something that we have to live by. And if they have a good platform goal within their ticket, I'd be more than willing if the students wanted to see that through.
Just to echo the sentiments of my running mate, definitely would have to agree. If they have something that's great that students really want, for sure, why not? Outside of all of this, presidential campaign running, Andy and Zach are actually my friends. So I have a good personal relationship with them, and I know that even during this time, if I ever have an issue or a problem or just want to talk, I know I have that opportunity to do that, because at the end of the day, all 4 of us, we really are looking to better our student body, and I respect them for that, and I'm glad to be running against 2 candidates who I definitely can respect.
I'd like to say that one of the things that actually isn't very apparent, we don't talk about it a lot, because the office is a little bit awkward right now, is that me and Melissa are actually in the same division. And it's only a 3-person division, so sometimes the work days are a little bit weird. But like Jacob said, we're all friends. We were friends before this, and we're gonna be friends after this. If they win, I'll support them 100%. But if we win, one of the things that I'd like to highlight is that Jacob will actually still be a senator, still be a leader in Senate until August. So we look forward to working with them, partnering with them, implementing their ideas, and we want the students to hold us accountable as student leaders, and we are sure that Jacob will help do that.
When I first found out I was running besides Andy, the first person I called was Melissa, and I said, hey Melissa, let me take you out to lunch, let's have a conversation. So we went out to lunch, and I said, we're great friends, and I just want to let you know, Andy and I are going to be running against you in the presidential election. If you win, I'm still your biggest fan. We're still friends, and I hope if we win, you can still support us, because we are friends. We both have phenomenal ideas. So no matter who wins, I support everybody who chases their dream. So yeah, we are all for incorporating ideas. If the student body grasps onto that idea, I think it's something that should happen. We are all for making it happen.
Well,
No, thank you.
Andy and Zach, how do you plan to structure your cabinet for maximum efficiency and results?
My personal opinion is that cabinet actually has grown too large for its own good. A lot of the things that we offer through cabinet, specifically campus life and student affairs, a lot of those services are actually offered through OSI. And I think in the past, cabinet was the heart of SGA. They were the people that took an initiative and made it happen. And right now, I think that the student leaders in OSI have taken over that role. So one of the things that I would like to do is revamp the cabinet, cut unnecessary positions, and let the student leaders that exist elsewhere take over those leadership roles.
There's some positions too that just encompass so much. An example, athletics and traditions coordinator are 2 very big distinct jobs. Athletics and tradition, we believe is something that should be split, because there's athletics year-round. If there's somebody to focus on athletics, it'll enhance tradition, and tradition should be able to focus solely on what we want to do to UCF through tradition.
Sorry, I was waiting for you to say Melissa and Jacob. But I've actually been really looking at restructuring cabinet. And I feel like with maximizing every student dollar, I think we should maximize the hours that your student leaders are there. Actually, we get paid. And I think every hour that you're there, you should be working on your student work in the programs that educate the student body and that benefit them. One of our main platform goals is for RSOs to get free graphics and also their logo designed by a graphic specialist within student government. So we would like to create a second graphic specialist that tailors exactly to the RSOs and only to them. I feel like a lot of positions within student government now, they encompass the same things. As like right now I'm the community affairs specialist and I work with the environmental and sustainability person. And a lot of our goals intertwine. So why not combine certain positions and make sure that they be more efficient? They're more efficient.
One of the things that I really, if elected, I really look forward to implementing is actually bringing back the health specialist position. When I was a freshman, I actually applied for that position, but it got cut, so kind of awkward. It's a position, someone who's medical career oriented, I think is so imperative for our student body. I mean, people of our age group are considered to be some of the most sexually active members of society. And not only in that realm alone, but just making sure that we can promote overall wellness. Not just sexual wellness, but overall wellness, and really advocate for students' health overall. And I think that's something that is kind of lacking in our university. We haven't been ranked very well nationally in some like third-party surveys on like sexual health and overall health of our student body. So that's a big concern for me. As someone that wants to work for World Health Organization and Doctors Without Borders and provide health care for people who are in third world countries and can't obviously have the means to do that, it's very important for me, if elected, to make sure that I can at least provide that here in a country where that should never be an issue. We should never in America have an issue with access and advocacy to sexual health and overall health.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can all agree that the positions on cabinet need to be more tailored and more focused. Right now, the same person, the same position is overstrained, they have multiple roles. So what we would do is take the approach that for our largest platform items, we would make a specific position to focus on that specific issue. One of the things that we would want to do is make sure that the person that handles safety would focus only on safety. They wouldn't focus on transportation, they wouldn't focus on anything else. Campus lighting and student lives is something that we want to protect, and we want to make sure that that position is tailored.
Speaking of safety, Melissa and Jacob, in the past year, campus safety has been a major issue here at UCF, and a number of students have fallen victim to a crime or accidents. Both of you have addressed campus safety in your platforms, but how would you combat this issue?
Yes, and as you answered that question, I kind of teared up because I'm looking at my sorority sister right now, and she lived next door to the young man last night in Tower 1. So at 1 o'clock in the morning, she actually called me, and I was the first person to answer the phone, and I don't have a vehicle, but that shows you the kind of sense of urgency I have for safety. Something on our platform that we have now is called Night Guardian, and it's been implemented at another university. And FSU is called FSU Guardian. But basically, I thought this was a very genius idea. When you call the police and you call 911, they're asking you so many questions, and you're fumbling, you don't know where you are, you don't know what you're doing. So in Night Guardian, what you would do is you would sign up with this program, you would tell them what you look like, what age you are, you can register it to your phone and your location so that your response time is faster. And I've been seeing a lot of posts on my timeline about thank God for the UCF PD because their response time is faster. Well, why not make that twice as fast? 3 minutes, turn that to a minute and a half.
As a resident assistant on campus, safety is the utmost importance to me. I call my residents my kids, and they all know that because the fact that they are my kids. I'm responsible for them at the end of the day, and I am essentially like their big brother. And if anything were to ever happen to one of my kids, I don't know what I would do. I really care about them. I have 48 on my floor, 801 community, and safety is the utmost importance. And working with our police department, fire department, any agency, the ombuds office on campus, making sure victim services, all these wonderful departments we have on campus, making sure we really collaborate with them, because it's so important for our students to make sure they understand that they have a place to go to, they have help they can get beyond just their RA, like myself, and professional help, because at the end of the day, I don't hold all the answers to my residents and my kids, but I really want to make sure that my kids and future residents of our communities on campus, and our future students, of course, as well, have the opportunity and have to never think that their safety is going to ever be in jeopardy on this campus, because that should never be someone's concern here.
It only takes a few moments to look at our platform and to talk to us, and you can tell that campus safety is a big deal for us. And a couple of people have asked me, well, Andy, why is it such a big deal? You're a big guy. You look like you can handle yourself. If you're walking on campus at night. And one of the things that I feel comfortable sharing with you guys is that when I was 4 years old, my mom was actually mugged and attacked. One of the few things that I remember is her walking around with a blood clot on her face for over half a year. And I don't think anyone should have to deal with that. That's why our first thing is improving campus lighting. Our second point is to put security cameras in the garage. No, that's actually an idea that came from UCF PD. You feel safe on campus. It's a weapons-free zone. You're here, you have your own dedicated police department, and people should feel safe here. And lately that hasn't been the case. One thing that I will say, Monday could have been a lot worse. Right now, instead of having a debate, instead of going to classes and taking a test after, we could all be at a candlelight vigil right now. That's something you should keep in mind. And that's something we should be thankful for our UCF Police Department, because without them, this could have been a whole different story.
Rebuttal?
No, thank you.
Andy and Zach, choosing your running mate is perhaps the most crucial part of winning an election and directing a successful administration over the next year. What was your greatest obstacle in working with your running mate be?
Our greatest obstacle is that we both have our own ideas and that we both contribute to the decision-making process, but we learned quickly that's actually a huge benefit to both of us. One of the things that we did was we actually weren't even thinking about running. We love to go paddleboarding, go out on the lake, and we actually hang out. We were talking, hanging out there, and we realized we had a lot of core values. There's a lot of problems in SGA that I was surprised that two people could actually be so similar on revamping those problems. So I think that it's more of working together and sharing those common values.
As Andy was saying, we were friends long before we decided to run together. We were sitting on Lake Claire one day, we were paddleboarding, we were talking about some issues in the current administration of student government, and we just thought, okay, this is how we could fix it, this is what we could do here, this is what we could do here. And we realized we had so many of the same values and things we wanted to change on campus. We decided we teamed up. I mean, we know people, we spoke, we know so many student groups, we have so many together, we have so many connections externally for UCF as well as internally for UCF. It just seemed like the perfect pair.
Well, anyone who knows me I picked my running mate because he works hard. He's a very passionate student leader, and that's what I love about him. We don't always agree, and I think that's the beauty. We play devil's advocate to each other for our intellectual growth. And I'll call Jacob, he's like, I know that. I don't agree with that. And we'll talk about it. It's the best thing to have a conversation. And any student leader knows you grow from conversation. And you may not know everything, but bouncing ideas off of each other creates one beautiful thing.
Melissa and I had actually known each other since fall freshman year 4 years ago. We actually had the same mentor. I was a student body president advisory council member, SDPAC for short, and she was on the mentorship program for Multicultural Student Center. And our mentor was actually Kirsty Miles, who was a diversity initiative specialist in SGA, and she also held a position in MSC. And so she actually had both of us meet one day, freshman year, and ever since then, we've actually had a wonderful personal and working relationship. So we've known each other for a long time, and when Melissa had approached me to run, I really couldn't think of anyone else better to run with since we have such a great history together.
I think the biggest reason, besides our core values that I picked Zach, is that we complement each other so well. Zach has amazing connections on campus with getting large-scale projects done. The new gym over by the arena is the best example of that. It takes internal know-how and partnership skills. I'm different. I have an external focus. I'm big on being a student advocate, reaching to the external community. Currently, I work for a U.S. congressman that actually represents this district. As the director of governmental affairs, I focus more on student advocacy in the legislative branch. Tomorrow's our day at the Capitol, and I talk a lot about Students First Administration Second. Actually, have a great working relationship with the administration. Tomorrow, President is going to be joining us, as well as several other administrators, for our reception. And I think that's why we pick each other, is that we complement each other, external versus internal, kind of the yin and the yang.
Melissa and Jacob, many students are not engaged in campus and take little interest in the actions of SGA because they feel that they're not benefited by its activities. How would your administration address this population of students?
All right, so there's a running joke between me and Cortez at the current moment. We thought about What if you shut down every SGA funded service for one day and you didn't tell the student body? Do you know how upset they would be? Because you don't realize that SGA funds this. But a beautiful thing I think about SGA right now, especially, although we don't get credit for a lot of things, that's not necessary. It's not necessary to have your face out there in the forefront. It's not necessary for students to say, well, hey, that's Cortez Wiley, or hey, that's Rachel Groh. You don't have to know their name to know their benefit and their purpose.
I think for me personally, if elected, people ask me, hey, if you're elected, are you going to still be a resident assistant next year? And I said, absolutely. The reason why, I think that sometimes students feel that the president and vice president live in an ivory tower and they're not allowed to be spoken to, addressed by just normal students, and that's something that I really want to change, and something that I really made sure to change in my role as a senator with student organizations. Many student organizations don't even feel they can come to Senate to get funding and things like that, and I'm proud to say I've really changed a lot of people's minds and a lot of opinions by outreaching, coming to so many different organizations, meetings, and events, and talking to them. Really for Life is a great example, which is a past one we had. While I was walking the track for my loved ones, I was able to meet with some student organizations and let them know, hey, are you aware that you can get money for promotion materials or host an event on campus or go to a conference? And they're like, we really can do that? And I'm like, yes, it's possible. So continuing that in a larger scope, in a larger role, in a larger scope, and I feel like going back to what I was saying about being a resident assistant still, I think that it's important for students to see that you're still a student just like anyone else. You still go to class, you still have different challenges. Like for myself as a student, I pay for my own tuition. I pay everything on my own as a student. My parents don't help me out. So to be able to relate to students on that level makes them realize, hey, you're just like anyone else. And that's the biggest point that I want to get across to students, is that Melissa and I are just like anyone else. We don't have cars, I don't get any help from my parents, things like that nature. That we have issues, personal issues we struggle with that many other students do as well. And being a resident assistant helps me relate, keeps myself very humble, because working with these students and being able to make a difference for these students really is an amazing opportunity. Getting them involved on campus and doing little things like that is really what I strive to continue to do for our students.
Yeah, as a current and former officer for multiple student clubs, I can speak to the fact that for most students, there's definitely a lack of awareness of what SGA can offer you and offer your student group. One of the things that we want to focus on is increasing that awareness. It goes back to the basics of communication. And I think that the best way to do that is we throw up a lot of roadblocks. One of the best example that I can think of is removing dozens of clubs that have been on the ASF activity and service fee budget for years and have shown excellence and have repeated the same year after year and removing those from the budget. And there's so many groups, and I hear it all the time, that are actually just so tired of the process. They don't look at SGA as someone that they can turn to for help and support, and that's something we want to change. Another thing we want to do is there's a culture in SGA of looking after and protecting its own. And the best example of that is also with activity and service fee budget, and Jacob can speak to this fact, is that there's actually two student-at-large positions. Right now, those are actually held by current SGA senators. Being an SGA, I don't really think that puts you as an at-large student. So one of the things that we want to do is opening those positions, opening every position in SGA to people that aren't just making their career out of it doing it year after year, but to new students with new ideas.
As Amy was saying, a lot of students just don't feel connected to student government. They feel like he was saying, like we're way up here and they're way down here, and that's not true at all. Andy and I are both students first, as we mentioned several times. And I think the biggest thing is just showing students that you actually care about them. Taking time to have a conversation with them, even if it's every single individual student, and finding out what they think is wrong with the school, or find out what they think can be done to make improvements. If you take all that time just to talk to every single student, you'll really see the benefits of it in the end.
Yes, please. Just speaking on the fact of the Activity and Service Fee Budget Committee, yes, this past year we did vote to not allow organizations to reapply for status in the budget. And the reason why is that, in my experience, 2.5 years working in Senate, 2 years on the Activity and Service Fee Committee, it's hurt organizations and it's helped. Many organizations have come through more than a year in advance for funding, and they realize when they get to the point of their conference or event that they have too little money to go because they're locked into that price. They're locked in, and it's not able to change. They're not able to go on a conference or host an event, and they're not even allowed to do any of that or get future funding from us on that specific event for that year. So it's really hurt organizations. So we've actually revamped the process. I talked about the Go Forecast system earlier. We made it more personable, and it's a personal mission of mine. I've met with so many organizations to make sure that they're able to get what they need and what they want out of the bill. And it's a very flexible process, and we've worked diligently to improve it on our end.
Thank you. Andy and Zach, this past year, UCF has become a smoke-free campus. What are your thoughts on this new policy, and do you foresee advocating for any similar policies if elected?
Yeah, as actually somebody that struggled with quitting smoking myself, somebody that smoked since they're in high school, I'm starting to definitely appreciate the policy. At first, I was one of the people that said, oh, no, we shouldn't have this policy, it's pointless, et cetera, and a lot of people did. But what I think is the best aspect of this new policy is that they actually offer smoking cessation classes for free to students, and I think that's wonderful. I think it helps students be healthier, and I think it helps them save money. It's something that I look forward to, promoting and actually, God forbid, actually having to use myself. It's something that I'm definitely open to.
Melissa and Jacob.
Well, actually, one of the faculty members that is over making it become a smoke-free campus came to one of the Greek Council meetings last year and asked us our sentiments on it before they actually placed it on campus. And we told them we really appreciate it because when I'm walking around and smoke is hitting me in the face, that's like secondhand smoke, And me personally, since I don't smoke, that's giving me something that I never asked for. And I like that stance with the university. And now I honestly believe that now that the university has made that stance, it shows us that they care, and it shows us our opinion of that. And I honestly think that UCF should expand that stance and make initiatives for other things such as gun control, sexual harassment, consent, alcohol abuse, and especially anti-hazing as well. I think that we should have more initiatives that state our stance before students get here so that they understand that.
As a resident assistant, it's been a great thing for us. One of my residents, actually, one of the kids, has bad asthma, and she is at first was very hesitant and afraid to even leave her room just to go to class or to go to, RSO meetings and stuff that she wanted to do because she didn't want to have to walk through a cloud of smoke and then have an asthma attack. So I think it's been a great thing for students who have asthma and have other illnesses that are affected by smoke to be able to freely walk around this campus and not be afraid that I have to stay away and walk, be very attentive and fearful of walking through a cloud of smoke or seeing a smoker. And I think that it's provided a great opportunity to help these students who really need it.
Rebuttal?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think the policy is a great idea. My only qualm with it is the way that it went about. Like, just the same as, the votes raised tuition. It wasn't necessarily the vote, it was the lack of communication with the student body about it. If they would have known about it beforehand, they would have felt the input. It's the same thing with the smoke policy. Most of the people that complain and that don't like the policy, they don't like the policy itself, they like how the policy came about. And of course, a few students were approached here and there. It might have been focus group. But I think the best way, if the administration really wants these sweeping campus-wide policies, especially if they're going to be student enforced, is to actually let the students grade them, put them through SGA, put them through the referendum process, and put them on the ballot. And I think if you really want students to enforce it and take ownership of it, you got to let them help grade it. And that's one of the things that we look forward to working with the administration on.
Melissa and Jacob, what do you believe is your most important platform goal, and how do you plan on accomplishing it?
I would have to. It's really hard because I think a lot of things are important on this campus. That's why there are platform goals. Those are the specific things we want to focus on. But I think our most important thing is our tuition contract as of this moment, because as a freshman or a transfer student, when you enter in this university, I'm pretty sure you sat down with a calculator and a piece of paper and tried to plan out all 4 years. And then midway through, you're wondering what happened when you looked at your account details on my UCF. And I think it's really important that we implement something that's not short term, that's long term, and that's that's something specific that we want to focus on. It's just like now, you don't just want to focus on next year. That's why we say have a 10-year plan.
I would narrow it down to two. I'd say one, focus on keeping students' dollars in their pockets, and that goes with fighting against the tuition increase, and probably more importantly, because as student body president, I would have a lot more impact on, would be fighting against any fee increase. Fees pay for a lot of great things. Year after year, they're always going to find new things to pay for. There's always somebody that's going to write it and say, oh, why don't we use that? And let's raise the fees to pay for it. But the problem is, in the past, students have paid for it 100%, and all that we really want as the administration meet us halfway and say, if it's really that important to have that service or to have that item or to have that new staff member, why don't you try to cut somewhere else and try to revamp the current program and just meet us halfway. And hopefully by taking such a strong stance against tuition fee increases this year, we can encourage them to partner with us more in the future. The second point for me would obviously be campus safety. I think that's when you're dealing with, and that ties into transportation as well, with the Safe Ride taxi, with expanding night lanes. When you're talking about student welfare and student lives, you really can't get much more important than that.
Please. What Andy was talking about with the fee increases and those fee committees, actually as student body president, Melissa would have the ability to appoint students to those fee committees, which are generally made up of the majority of students. Like Zach, Andy, and myself, we were all appointed by Cortez Watley, the current student body president, to that University Technology Fee Committee. So having the ability to appoint people who are very passionate and really want to make a difference is something that's very important for us, and something we really want to make sure we can do, because that's a very important power that the president holds. So we want to make sure that we're able to appoint people who really understand what's going on, and they're going to fight for the best possible outcome from those committees.
And I think, honestly, I've been thinking about, especially with our communications department, we have awesome people in that department that like to get posts out to students. And what if I said, well, hey, I want to appoint somebody to this committee and post it for the entire campus to know that and to apply for that.
Thank you. We're going to move now into closing statements. Each party will have 3 minutes to make their closing statements, and we will be starting with Andy.
I think by this point, students are familiar with both tickets. They're familiar with what both tickets stand for. So I'm not going to bore you with repeating this spiel. What I'm going to say is that it comes down to two things. If you want a ticket that's pro-students, students first, administration second, then support Andy and Zach. And that's just how it is.
I couldn't agree with Andy more. I don't want to keep repeating everything. Again, if anybody wants to contact us, feel free. We're here after the debate to give information. Thank you.
Well, in this field, I would like you to understand that I'm a very passionate leader and that I really care about you all. One of the best components of the creed for me is community. And I like to think that it's more than just me, it's bigger than me, it's everyone. And when I join organizations, that's exactly how I feel. And I want to let you guys know that next year, if I were elected, I will fight on your behalf, and I would work with you all, and I would keep that promise, because everyone who works with me knows that both of our work ethics are very strong and very passionate. I found that word passionate around a year ago, and I can't stop using it, and I refuse to stop using it, because it describes me. And my character is my brand, and if you say what kind of brand I am, I'm better than Nike, I'm better than Target and Walmart, because my character speaks volumes.
First, I'd just like to thank everyone here today for coming out and supporting all four of us. This has been a wonderful opportunity to talk to all of our students here, as well as having news crews in the back videotaping to put on their respective websites. Thank you so much for being here. But the thing I think that everyone should take away from this, if you wanted two people who are going to really show students that their student leaders are just students like themselves, that's Melissa and I. I like to say it, I mean, we've said it like a few times already, but we both own cars. I work as an rail campus as well as I work as an undergrad admissions ambassador. So I work 2 jobs on campus. I know what it's like to struggle with having to pay bills and having to make sure that like you're on top of things. But beyond that, I think it's important for students to realize that if you really want to make sure your money is in the best hands and making sure that your money, the $10.79 per credit hour that you as students pay into this, you need to have someone who has the most fiscal experience, and that's myself. In that role, I'm here to make sure we can save students money and we can expand our opportunities for all students on campus. So thank you.
Great job, and thank you to all of you. You have some fantastic ideas. I can't wait to hear more. As a representative of the Alumni Association, I know that no matter what the results of this election, we can't wait to work with you on your initiatives, and that's one of the things that you will have the pleasure of doing with. Just a couple more things.